Well, so obviously you're talking to me, so what happened?
Well, the big hand. Well, there's a couple of big hands. First I played probably a little bit too loose early on, and got myself short stacked, and then picked up pocket sixes. I flopped a set against Gus. He had overpair and a flush draw, so we got all in on the flop, and my set held up. And then the next big hand was against Gus again. I had pocket aces. I re-raised him pre-flop because I know Gus is likes to call with a lot of hands, and he called, and the flop was Jack Jack with a small card. So he checked. I would checked, hoping to give him a chance to hit a pair with his cards. There's a good chance he's drawing almost dead. And the turn was a perfect card for me, a queen. And he called my bet, leaving himself with not really, only like 3,000-4,000 left. And then the river, was the worst card for me, another queen. And he bet out. And I'm not really so happy with my call there, but I think it's a hand call I'm supposed to make, at least in theory. You can argue, yeah, there's nothing I can beat, but then there are a few hands Gus could have. He could have a small pocket pair, and now his hand is counterfeited, and he might be trying to bet to get me to fold an ace high or something like that. So really, it's at that point, yeah, I can only beat a bluff unless like Gus maybe has kings and thinks I'm going to call him with ace high. So I called there, and yeah, he had king queen. So it was a really bad river for me. Great turn, but bad river to give him trips. And that got me short again. Then I got lucky and doubled up, and then this last hand, I kind of got unlucky with the ace jack. And it makes me, of course, a couple hands ago I had ace queen and I folded. There's a raise under the gun, and Gus moved all in. And if it's a different situation, I'm going to push there with the ace queen. Like if it's I'm on the button and it's the two players to the right of me make that play, I like my ace queen a lot better. But when it's an undergun raise, even somebody as loose and aggressive as Gus Hansen, my ace queen is not in great shape in that spot. And Gus might make that play with ace jack, maybe ace 10 suited, but I doubt it. Very few hands that I'm a favorite against. And there's still one other player in the pot that's, could have a big hand. So, and in that spot, if it's ace king, I have ace queen, and there's like two nines in that spot, I'm in a horrible situation. Because, if I don't catch the queen, yeah, I'm big, big underdog. I have to catch the queen and hope there's no king and no nine. So that's a bad spot to be in. And so I folded, and be interesting to see if I made the right play in that spot. I'm pretty sure that's the right play, even against a couple of slightly looser, aggressive players in that spot. A lot of people make the mistake with the ace queen when they get short stacked, and they think it's a huge hand, and it's great against one opponent. But once you get two people in there, it's two people, especially with the first raiser being early position. Once that first raiser kind of like sets the tone for the hand. That position, the position that they're in, is going to really define everybody else's hands from that point on. So that's really more important than Gus and Gus's hand, because Gus has to play off of the first player's hand. So, first position, he's not going to be opening up with ace rag. So Gus isn't going to be playing, ace medium in that spot probably, unless he picks up a read. So, I folded that hand, and I got all in with ace jack against two kings, and didn't hit an ace or three jacks or anything else. So, I get to go home early.
So, what do you think of having the opportunity to be able to come here and play the qualifier and have an opportunity to play in the TOC this way?
Well, this was a great opportunity to play. I've been, I guess, a little bit unlucky heads up at the World Series before. I had 5 different opportunities to win a bracelet when I had one or both of my opponents all in with the chip lead. And, I've obviously lost all 5 of those, 4 of them against Chip Reese. And then once, I only had my opponents all in for the entire tournament once when it was 3-handed. We had a big 3-way pop, and I was behind in that hand, but I still could have flopped a set and won the whole thing right there. Or I could have come back. And, have this opportunity is really nice. it takes away some of the sting, I guess, of my second place finishes in the World Series. And playing against these players, I've played with all or almost all of them before, big tables in a lot of televised events for a lot of them. Gus and I go all the way back to the first season of the WPT, and it's really it was a lot of fun, and it's a learning experience, and it'd be fun to go and watch some of the hands and see what people have folded and what people called with, and some of the comments at the table even just now. It gives you a good insight into how these different players play, and what they're, not just how they played in that hand, but how they might think and how they might play the hand normally. Like, for example, Grinder folding to King Jack pre-flop to a raise and talking to Sorrel, and how their chatter back and forth tells you about how they play normally and how they value the hands and how they kind of respect different people in different ways, and how a raise from one person can mean something different than a raise from another person. They might play completely different, and varying your play against other players is very important. I think you can even see that in here.
Mm-hmm. So, well, obviously, before this happened, you were the favorite. So now that you obviously, like you said, you played with all the players before, you've seen them all at the table. So who's the favorite now?
Well, I would say the favorite. Gus has a lot of chips, and Gus is great in this format. Very aggressive. He also knows the mathematics of it, and that doesn't mean knowing like what the odds are of ace king against two jacks, but it means knowing when you have the right odds to call pre-flop with like your suited connector. Like, you make a raise and your opponent moves all in. Gus is the kind of player that's going to get a read on the situation and think like, oh, my 10-7 suited has the right odds to call. And other people will be like, how in the world can he make that call? I mean, he's made some pretty amazing calls, but when you go and look at the math and you look and say, okay, this is my opponent's range of hands, Gus's call is right. And so if you look back, going back to the Poker Superstar, the initial one there, he did amazing in that format, and kind of almost like destroyed everybody. And he does great in this kind of format, I think, especially when something like this where the goal is to win, and he's got some chips now. Gavin Smith has chips. He's gonna be a threat, but they all have a chance. Everybody's a good player. They all know the basic odds, and. I wish them all luck and hope to see one of them go deep in the TOC.
Awesome. Thank you, Andy, and good luck at the rest of the series.
Thanks.